I think we all need to learn to have more fun. You know, just forget about the hardships of the world and gaming in general, and just sit down to something that doesn't make a lot of sense. You guys have been doing it for years.
I remember last week we were talking about depressing boss fights. We've come a long way in a week, haven't we? Where there's conflict in a video game, you can bet your life that developers will find a way to make said conflict hilarious, even when it shouldn't be. But that's okay, because you can only access the vast majority of joke weapons by doing something annoyingly specific, or by beating the whole game. So nothing is ruined and everyone's having fun. I'd call that a good day. Worth pointing out that for the sake of keeping the video fractionally more interesting, I'll be looking at joke weapons that actually do a thing, rather than just, hey, here's a feather duster in the colours of the Romanian flag, go kill people.
What?
Nah, joke weapons are serious business, can't let standards slip just because you're using something stupid. These games are meticulously designed to incorporate these weapons, definitely not an afterthought. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to save the world using my feather duster of destiny. Using joke weapons in a serious setting completely diffuses any tension or drama you may have had. Usually you pick them up for beating the game or doing something ridiculously specific, so it's not like it's ruining whatever tone the game is going for. More so that it gives you an incentive to run through this slow, deliberately paced game with your stupid dum-dum weapon. Though I wouldn't really say that Dead Space 2 was deliberately paced. At least from the standpoint of trying to be a horror game, which it kind of isn't, and maybe the hand cannon is just a way of Dead Space 2 being the kind of game it really wants to be.
The original Dead Space was a game that scared the crap out of me. It was a little bit shouty in places, but you still feel ill-equipped to deal with all the terrifying aliens. Dead Space 2 was a little bit less scary, more action-orientated, and I felt that it didn't really do the name justice. But hey, it's still a good game, and you can still have a lot of fun with it, especially if you give the player a one-hit kill weapon.
I remember the Tommy gun in Resident Evil 4. Basically, your reward for beating the game and forking over a buttload of cash is a submachine gun with infinite ammo that kills enemies hilariously quickly. Oh yeah, these regenerators, the scariest enemy in the game? Not anymore! I don't know, there's just something incredibly satisfying about demolishing enemies that caused you so much trouble before. Similar case with Dead Space 2, except instead of the Chicago typewriter, you have the hand cannon. A special weapon you can only unlock by beating hardcore mode. Probably doesn't need explaining, but simply getting to the end of Resi 4 is significantly, like, by a factor of 200 easier than beating Dead Space 2's hardcore mode. No checkpoints, hardly any saving, you're gonna die a lot, so get used to it. But the hand cannon is one almighty carrot on the end of the stick. The feeling you get from waltzing through the game, shooting monsters with a foam finger that says bang, and killing them all in one shot, you know, I'd say it's probably worth it. Clearly Isaac Clarke isn't having the best of times and might be slowly losing it, but this is a hell of a way of embracing it. In space, no one can hear you fucking shoot aliens with a foam finger. What? There's a tendency for joke weapons to either be hideously underwhelming and only in the game as a joke, or for them to be endgame super weapons that obliterate enemies that caused you so much trouble. Doesn't tend to be much of a middle ground really, but occasionally you find a stupid weapon that actually has a small niche within the game, so you can experiment with it while also enjoying the spectacle of using something impractical. Now, those of you who dislike when I mention Metal Gear might want to hold on to something, though if you get riled up because someone talks about their favourite series, maybe you should re-evaluate your priorities. The water pistol in the Phantom Pain is kinda funky. In a game with a lot of weapons to choose from, and indeed a lot of different styles of getting shit done to choose from, the prospect of running up to a bad guy and squirting him in the face, bit of a hard sell. But these games have always been about tactical espionage, so any advantage you can get is gonna be pretty handy, even if it does come from a squirty gun. Against enemies it isn't so good, you can sort of stun them, but if you're trying to sneak around a base or an outpost, don't leave home without it. You can spray it near enemy guards as a means of distraction, and since it doesn't count as an attack, you won't trigger an alert for doing so. Squirt it on some electronics to quietly disable communications between soldiers, or whatever else this console does, or you can use it on a fire to put that out and give you more darkness to skulk around in. And since it's a fucking water pistol, you get infinite ammo for it, because we all know that there's loads of water wherever you go, even an Afghan desert. Can't keep up with all this realism.
It's a mark of a good joke weapon when you don't think it will work for something, but it ends up being pretty useful. Later on in the Phantom Pain, when you're fighting the man on fire, you think, hey, I can use that water pistol I have and put him out. Turns out it doesn't work, but holy shit it does! You just gotta spray him a few dozen times. It's how the pros do it.
Can a good joke weapon salvage a bad game? No, it can't. But that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it in isolation. Just because every design choice ended up being terrible ideas doesn't mean that you can't squeeze half an ounce of fun out of it. Take Shadow the Hedgehog for example, a game concept that should never have been a real thing that became exactly the sort of twisted parody that someone would make if they were trying to be ironically edgy. Even ignoring the damn guns, you've got a hilariously stupid plot with clunky controls and shoddy level design, and all of this is irrelevant because the Omochao gun exists. What if I told you if this was my favourite thing about this game? It's easy and probably accurate to think that Sega forgot to consult their resident humans about what this abstract concept known as fun is, but the inclusion of the Omochao gun is like a lighthouse piercing through the murky skies. Despite being named after one of the most annoying characters in the series, which says more than I could possibly say, screwing around with the Omochao gun reminds you that there can be some very specific fun to be had in this game. You just need to beat one of the final stages and now you've got a gun that shoots Omochao heads that bounce all over the place, reliably killing enemies without a lot of effort while also offering a brief bit of respite and comic relief in a game devoid of lots of nice things. And if this still doesn't work for you, just think of it like you're shooting the decapitated head of Omochao at enemies. Never seen him be so useful.
Is it possible for a stupid game to have a joke weapon? If the whole game doesn't take itself seriously, how can you tell the difference between an actual weapon and a joke weapon? Well, every game has its limits and sometimes wants to be grounded in reality. It's when it steps out of reality that you should probably be paying attention.
If you clicked on this video and didn't expect Saints Row to be represented in some way, then, you know, I don't even know what to do with you. Go educate yourself, it's a beautiful world out there. For a little while, Saints Row tried to be this competitor to Grand Theft Auto. Not really a competition you're gonna win. It offered more of a customizable experience than GTA. You can pick out your own avatar and build a gang in your image. It was always a little bit stupid, but, you know, so was GTA. Around the time of the third game, though, things started getting even more stupid. Almost as if the people behind the franchise decided that going toe-to-toe with one of the most successful game series of all time wasn't such a great idea. Saints Row the Third is bizarre and just really bizarre, actually. One of the earliest stories I heard coming out of the game was that you could beat people to death with a giant dildo, and while I think there's plenty of mileage in that, I think we can go wackier. Tell me, friend, have you ever wanted to shoot an octopus at a person? Ammunition comes in all shapes and sizes, so why not sea creatures? I mean, have you touched an octopus recently? It's really weird. Now, any other game would be content with simply firing an octopus at a person's head because, hey, that's pretty funny, but Saints Row is all about going further than most would think necessary. That's why these octopi don't just cause problems, they're mind control octopi. Attach one to an enemy's head and after they stop dancing, they'll start fighting for you. This could have easily been some kind of science ray that does the same job, but this is way more fun. The only drawback with it is you don't unlock it, you pick it up alongside some DLC that doesn't matter. Is it worth $3? Probably not, but I've spent that kind of money on Steam and felt disappointed with what I bought. Wouldn't really say the same here. Contrast is the name of the game here. Not really an absolute must, but in terms of catching you off guard and the joke coming out of nowhere, yeah, does help, don't have any build up. The focus of Red Faction Armageddon, which is currently the last game in the series after it sold like shit, is shooting a bunch of aliens on Mars with a variety of futuristic weapons. It's not a terrible game by any means, but it doesn't really have anything interesting to it. Even talking about it now, I'm struggling to give you a hook. Like, yeah, mining. Mining's interesting. It's got a magnet gun, which is kind of fun, but not a lot more than that though. But hey, hang on, this is a game in a series that pioneered the Geo mod, where you can smash through any surface you like. Here it's only really used to make more explosions than you're probably responsible for, giving the whole game this dark brown feel punctuated by alien blood and shiny explosions. Though, if you go off the beaten path, blow a few walls up and walk through this Indiana Jones style hidden corridor... Guys, I found something interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Mr. Toots. He's a magical unicorn who enjoys cooking and complaining about Metroid games, but mostly he passes the time by being a weapon in this game. Not just any weapon, mind you. You can probably tell by the name, but Mr. Toots gets shit done by farting rainbows on the enemy. So not only do we have a pretty effective weapon with plenty of character and creative thought put into it, but also one that really stands out in this loud game full of explosions. And it's the natural direction to go in. No one has ever played a Red Faction game for the story, and so making the full transformation into a game that has a farting unicorn in it, it's the hero we didn't even know we needed.
This thing happened to Luigi, and the poor sales of Red Faction Armageddon led to the cancellation of any more sequels and the eventual bankruptcy of publisher THQ. The franchise is now under the wing of a revitalized THQ, but we haven't seen any more games. Use the Geomod a bit more practically, make the story even more nonsensical, and add more unicorns that fart out rainbows. That's how you revitalize a franchise!
Got a topic that you'd like me to discuss in a countdown? Leave a suggestion in a comment below and head over to my Twitter, where I'll be holding a vote to decide the subject of the next countdown based off the best of your submissions. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, hope you liked that. Pretty normal week for me, mostly planning for Pokemonth and Halloween, though for a reason that may become clear soon, I've been in correspondence with a representative at Nintendo. Though it's not as much fun as you'd think. As soon as you bring up anything to do with YouTube copyright, they change the subject very quickly. You know, I'd guess I do that too. But then again, I haven't got too much to be ashamed of. Especially not my patrons over at Patreon, who are being treated to all manners of sweet-ass rewards. You too could enjoy these nice things by clicking the link in the description, or on that scrolly text thing. Harder than you think making that, make sure it gets some use.